Today I'm taking an ADHD test because I've been told that autism and ADHD can go hand in hand. So let's take the test and find out. Question 1. I find it difficult finishing a task or project. So thinking back, I have started way more projects than I have ever finished. And I've always had to fight myself to get projects done. Once I get that initial hype about a project or an idea and I start working on it, I might focus on it quite intensely. And then once that hype sort of run out, I find it very hard to actually carry that project through to completion. Such as what I'm doing right now, where I'm uploading daily videos to YouTube for 90 days. I've actually been really struggling with that. I was going very hard at it. It was all that consumed me. And now it still is all that consumes me, but I'm just sort of getting a bit depressed about my lack of action. I'm going to say quite often, even though I am quite good at like forcing myself to go follow through with tasks these days, I find it difficult to organise myself or a task. So I'd say for the most part, in terms of tasks and jobs, I'm actually quite organised because I get quite worried about things, so I organise things ahead of time to make sure that I am as prepared for that task as possible. But in general, not that organised. Like my desk, I like it to be quite messy. Well, I don't like it to be messy. It just ends up messy. My environment becomes messy unless I manage it, and it's quite hard for myself to manage it. But in terms of professional tasks, I'm quite organised. So I find it difficult to organise myself or a task. I'm going to say sometimes then. Bang in the middle. Question 3. I find it difficult to remember appointments. So I'm quite good at remembering appointments as long as they're about me in a way. If it's something like I intrinsically have like an emotional reaction to, like if it's a health appointment or anything like that, I will remember it. But if it's something someone else has organised and it's not something that like I've got like an emotional reaction to, I do forget those things. I have to write them down on like a calendar or something like that. So I'm going to go with the middle answer, which is sometimes, because it's not all the time. Question 4. If a task or project requires a lot of thought, I will often delay in getting it started. I tell you what, I'm going to go with often on this one. I am getting better at forcing myself to get into tasks and start doing the hard bits, but I'm not very good at it. So I'm going to tick often. Yeah, I'd say often. So this is an interesting question. I find it difficult to sit still and often fidget or squirm. Well, I'm going to say, I would say that is very often because I just get quite uncomfortable, to be honest. And sometimes I get this thought that like while I'm sitting at the computer, if I'm sat there for a while and I think, oh my God, I'm going to get a blood clot sitting here. And suddenly I sort of have like this full body cringe and I have to start moving. I'm going to click very often. I do like to fiddle with things as well, like any sort of toys or anything I've got on my desk. Yeah, so I'm going to click very often. Question 6. I would describe myself as being on the go and feel compelled to do things as if driven by a motor. I wouldn't really agree with that one. Oftentimes I find myself sat there looking at like my YouTube analytics or my emails. If there's nothing like going on, I get a bit sort of depressed, I guess. And then if there's no one to like go to the gym with, I'll just sit there and feel sort of sad. So I don't think so. Like it's like I want to do things, but if there's not someone for me to do it with, I just get a bit sad. So I'm just going to say sometimes. Question 7. I find it hard to remain focused in group settings. Depends on the group setting, I would say. I mean, a lot of the time, if it's a big group sort of thing, I might sort of like get that feeling of like, oh, I'm self-conscious and I might try and like push myself to the back of the room, or I end up being quite quiet. If it's like 3 of us doing a job, it's quite fun, you know, I get quite engaged with that. But I do tend to work best when I'm on my own. I'm going to go with another sometimes. It's not a definitive answer again, but I'm going to click sometimes. Question 8. My mind feels very cluttered and it's hard for me to concentrate on one thing at a time. That is something that I don't really struggle with. I'm quite like laser focused when I'm wanting to do something. Oftentimes that's the only thing I'm thinking about. So if it's like right now, I'm like, I need to make YouTube videos. And if I'm not making YouTube videos, even in just one day where I'm like, I don't make a YouTube video, I feel quite annoyed at myself, like I've betrayed myself. I'm going to say rarely, like I'm very sort of like the one thing I'm focusing on, that's what I'm doing. Question 9. I make decisions quickly and fail to think through the consequences. Sometimes. That is definitely a sometimes, because sometimes I think about everything and it's like anxiety. I think about all the potential problems. A lot of the time I think it's actually because I can't see a lot of the potential consequences that makes me quite risk adverse, if that makes sense. So I don't do something because I'm naturally quite risk adverse, like latently. So I think I tend to not do things like that. But then at other times it's just like I just want to do something. And I don't really like thinking about the future, if you know what I mean. And I think that's just a personal thing. Like I find it hard to think about the future. So I think I'm split, I'm going to have to click sometimes again. Question 10. I am often irritable with a short fuse. Again, I know I'm ticking sometimes a lot, but this is true. Sometimes, it isn't that often. But sometimes I am. I'm just annoyed because usually it's because I'm beating myself up over something. There's something wrong with my body physically and it's all I'm thinking about. I don't want to tick all of these sometimes, but for some reason, a lot of these are just, my answer is sometimes, Question 11. I have mood swings, sometimes feeling quite high and other times quite low. I would agree with this, but it's on more of a longer wave. So what I mean is like, it's not like within the same day I'm up and down and up and down. It's more of a like day to day sort of thing. And I'm actually going to group days together. It's more of a like throughout the week. Like if this was a graph, I wish I had a whiteboard here. It would be plotted like this. And I think it's quite natural actually. Well, I can only say it because it's just what I experience, but it's just a natural up and down. Like I might just have one day when I'm quite depressed. And one day I'm on the way back up the graph and I'm quite motivated. And I do follow that wave quite consistently. I would say often, but I don't know, the question isn't asking the time frame. So I'm going to click often, but it's about on a sort of longer term basis, not throughout the day. I'm not like, as of filming this, it's 7:30 in the morning. Now I'm feeling quite positive and then it might be 9 o'clock, I'll be depressed. It's not that short term. Well, it really depends on what's going on. But I'm going to click often. Question 12. I often miss what is being said to me in conversations. This really depends. Sometimes I find it hard to just understand what people are saying. And then if I feel like it's a bit of an awkward situation, I won't ask them to repeat themselves. So I can't keep asking like, what did you say? What did you say? I struggle. It's not like I'm deaf. It's like sometimes I just can't comprehend what someone's being said. Like sometimes, we're all speaking English around here. And sometimes it sounds like some people are talking an alien language. And I'm just like, and I don't understand what's being said. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to leave it there. Like in my head, I'm like, okay, let's just roll with that. And I'll try and figure out what they said later. I know it's kind of annoying. I'm clicking sometimes a lot, but I'm going to click sometimes. Okay. Apparently I'm on the edge of medium probability. Like I'm on the edge of it becoming a high probability, apparently. Your answers suggest you are not showing many signs of ADHD. However, this is only a short test. There may be other components to a proper diagnosis. If you're concerned about your thoughts and behaviours, you should seek expert help. I said that wrong. The only way to know for sure if you're ADHD is through professional assessment. Well, I'm not that concerned, The benefits of a diagnosis. With a diagnosis, we give you a personalised treatment plan. This might include medication to reduce symptoms, approaches to help you manage tasks, and provide strategies to improve impulse control. Not that concerned, especially don't want any medication. What happens in an ADHD assessment? You'll work with a senior psychiatrist to fully understand your thoughts, presentations, and experiences. Your psychiatrist will gather information from multiple sources, including a symptom checklist, behaviour rating scales, and family members or other people who know you well. So, if you're seeing a psychiatrist, it's going to be about prescribing medications. Just to go off topic here, I want to talk about psychiatrists a little bit. I used to work doing mental health videos with the NHS. I edited a lot of videos where psychiatrists might have been talking to camera. And later on, I was in hospital, for my IBD. If you've seen some of my other videos, I've got IBD. But anyway, I was in the hospital and I was mentally, I felt very done. And I was talking to my consultant. I was like, could I potentially speak to a psychiatrist? Because I've never really spoken to one. I've spoken to a psychiatrist in terms of doing videos, but I've never spoken to one about actual mental health help. Could I talk to one? And the consultant was confused by this because he was like, why do you want to speak to a psychiatrist? Do you want some drugs? And I was like, no, I just want to talk to one, like I want to see like how much they could help me potentially. And then he was like, okay, well in that case you want to use a service like Health in Mind. And I'm like, no, I want to try talk to a psychiatrist. And he was basically like, no, not unless you want some drugs. So I just wanted to see how well that they could like make me feel better just by talking to me. But it turns out I'm asking for the wrong thing. He wouldn't let me. So thought I'd just bring that up. But anyway, we've just done an ADHD test and apparently I'm showing some signs, which, I wouldn't have thought that, to be honest. But maybe I'm just like that. So if you enjoyed this video, please press that subscribe button. There are going to be 2 videos pop up. One might be of interest to you. If it is, please do click it. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.